Now, so we said that with this explanation, we can answer life's questions that seems to trouble our minds. We can look at it. What did God do in the beginning? What was in the mind? What did God create? Did God create evil? We can look at those questions with the foundation we have laid, that there are two time periods. In the beginning, the will, purpose, and intent of God. After the fall of man, the hardness of man's heart, carving out his experiences and his lifestyle. Now, it's very important for you to know that God did not create sin, because he himself does not have sin. God did not create sin. We have also seen that God never gets tempted by sin. So sin is a function of man's desire. A function of man's desire. Let's look at it. There is a law of Genesis that will help us to see many things. What was at the beginning? Where do babies come from? Now, we have tried to start answering a few days ago where babies come from. Notice that man's existence didn't come from heaven, because God created man on the earth or in the earth. So babies do not come from heaven. God created man in the earth, and that is the beginning of man. And nobody since Adam has ascended to heaven. Jesus said so in John chapter 3 verse 13. No man has ascended up to heaven, but he that came down from heaven, even the Son of Man which is in heaven. So no man has ascended to heaven, which means Adam was created in the earth. Observe that God didn't make Adam, then make the earth. Rather, God created the earth before making Adam. Because if God had made Adam before creating the earth, it will mean that God made Adam somewhere else outside the earth. But God created the earth first before creating Adam. Very important. And of course, when God created Adam, then Adam took up a body from the dust of the earth. All right? So it's a wrong concept to think that people come from heaven into the womb of a woman. The only time that happened will be in the incarnation, and that will be Jesus. That is why 1 Corinthians 15:47. 1 Corinthians chapter 15 verse number 47. The first man is of the earth, earthy. The second man is the Lord from heaven. The first man is of the earth, earthy. The second man is the Lord from heaven. Did you see that? So the first man came from the earth. Only the second man, which is Jesus, is the Lord who came from heaven. Which means it's only Jesus, the word that became flesh, that came from heaven. And that's why we call Jesus the incarnate. Isaiah prophesied, a virgin shall conceive a son, and she shall call his name Emmanuel, which means God with us. Now, Adam's case was Adam was created in the earth. And you must always know the difference between creation and procreation. There is a difference between creation and procreation. Very important. Creation is what God did in Adam. Procreation was what happened from Adam. Creation, what God did in Adam. Procreation, what God did from Adam. Adam is a creation, and he embodies mankind all together. Procreation is Adam being fruitful and bringing forth after his kind. I repeat, Adam is a creation of God, and he embodies all of mankind together. Procreation is Adam being fruitful and bringing forth after his kind. Creation is what God did. Procreation is the ability of what God has done to recreate itself. Procreation is the ability of what God has done to recreate itself. In Genesis chapter 1 and 2, we find creation. In Genesis chapter 4 down till today, what we find is recreation. Genesis 1 and 2, creation. From Genesis chapter 4 till today, what we have is procreation. All right, procreation. That is what God created had the capacity to produce after its kind. It had the capacity to produce after its kind, not to create, but to produce after its kind. You only create what had not existed before. Man was not creating man. Man was bringing forth after his kind. Now, John chapter 9 verse 1. The Gospel of John chapter 9 verse 1. And as Jesus passed by, he saw a man which was born blind from his birth. And his disciples asked him, saying, Master, who did sin, this man or his parents, that he was born blind? Now, nothing can be more perplexing as a child who is born with a defect, cannot see from birth, or a child that does not have legs, or some kind of deformity, you know. And because people believe that children come directly from God, then the conclusion will be, well, God has a purpose why he came out like that. That will be the conclusion. God knows why he came out like that. The most stupid one that people always give as an excuse is this one that they will say, God knows he will have sinned. God knows. Okay. And then Jesus answered them. This man has neither sinned nor his parents. Neither had this man sinned nor his parents, but that the works of God should be made manifest in him. What Jesus was actually saying is that he didn't say this is the work of God. He didn't say this man is born blind as the work of God. He said this man, it's neither him nor his parents. Then Jesus said, anyway, whatever happened to the man, my part in this is that the work of God may be manifest. So the work of God in the whole scenario is healing. See that? The blindness of the man was not the work of God. So Jesus lets you see that the way this guy is in birth is not the work of God. Then he added, but I am here, and what I will do now is the work of God. In Acts chapter 3, you hear of someone crippled from his mother's womb. And then people will say, well, God must have a purpose. If God was the one that is blinding people or bringing people into the world with defects, there is no reason why Jesus will go about healing the sick. You know, he will rather go about multiplying sicknesses, because Jesus is God in human form. So anybody who thinks like that, number one, is blinded by Satan. You know, just like Job. You know, he will hide behind man's ignorance and ask man to blame God for what the devil has done or what he himself has done. Like Adam will say, the woman you gave to me, she made me do what I did. So we said that in Genesis chapter 1, we're going to be examining a few things. Look at Genesis chapter 1 verse 11. And now please pay attention. Genesis chapter 1 verse 11. And God said, let the earth bring forth grass, the herb yielding seed, and the fruit tree yielding fruit after his kind, whose seed is in itself upon the earth. And it was so. So the principle in Genesis is for everything God has made to bring forth after its kind. And it applies to man. Because Genesis 1:26 and 27, you see the same principle applied to man. Genesis 1:26, 27. Put it up for me. And God said, let us make man in our image after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over the cattle, and over all the earth, and over everything that creepeth upon the earth. Next verse. So God created man in his own image. In the image of God created he him. Male and female created he them. Next verse. And God blessed them. And God said unto them, be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth and subdue it and have dominion over the fish of the sea and over the fowl of the air and over every living thing that moveth upon the earth. So God's word has gone out to man. God's word has gone out to what he has created. Man has been empowered as man to procreate himself. Look at Genesis chapter 4 verse 1. Genesis chapter 4 verse number 1. And Adam knew Eve his wife, and she conceived and bore Cain, and said, I have gotten a man from the Lord. I have gotten a man from the Lord. And this is after man has sinned. The word I have gotten a man is like I have created a man, or I have acquired a man by the help of the Lord. Or I have brought forth after my kind with the help of God. Look at Genesis chapter 5 verse 1 to 3. Genesis 5. This is the book of the generations of Adam. In the day that God created man, in the likeness of God made he him. Next verse. Male and female created he them, and blessed them. And God called their name Adam in the day when they were created. Next verse. And Adam lived 130 years, pay attention, and begat a son in his own likeness, after his image, and called his name Seth. Adam had sinned, and Adam, has died, because Genesis 2:17 says, the day you eat it, you shall surely die. So Adam has sinned, Adam has died. God said to Adam, the day you eat of it, look at these trees, you will surely die. And he disobeyed and died. Of course, you know what death is? Separation. Now, did you observe that Adam in a dead state? Genesis 5:3. Observe. Genesis 5 verse 3. And Adam lived 130 years and begat a son in his own likeness, after his image, and called his name Seth. Question. Is it wrong for Adam to bring forth in his image and likeness? No. What is wrong now is that the original prototype, the original model that God created Adam in, has been altered and corrupted by sin. So the kind Adam is going to bring forth will be the fallen Adam kind. Will be a man that will be spiritually dead. Not the one God created in Genesis 1:27. So let's examine this. Jesus said, in the beginning, it was not so. So, how many things were not so in the beginning that we see today? How many things were not so in the beginning that we see today? And very easily we thank God for it. Go around thanking God. If you will not thank God for yielding to the temptation of sin, then there are many things you shouldn't thank God for. Many things have changed since the beginning. The earth itself has changed.